So good morning everyone, Sangeeta here, Assistant Professor in Biochemistry. Today I will be talking about the polysaccharides. So in today's class especially we will be focusing on homopolysaccharides. So we know that carbohydrates which are composed of more than 10 monosaccharide units or their derivatives are generally classified as polysaccharides. So the general classification already learned in chemistry as monosaccharide, oligosaccharides and polysaccharide. Mono means single unit, isn't it? It consists of only a single carbohydrate unit, either as glucose, fructose, etc. Then oligosaccharides, it can be up to 10 monosaccharide units. It can be a disaccharide or trisaccharide, tetrasaccharide like that. So up to 9 or 10 monosaccharide units carbohydrates are known as oligosaccharides. Among these oligosaccharides, the disaccharides are very important. Then polysaccharides. Polysaccharides also known as glycans. It is divided into homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. So the definition of polysaccharides, these are polymers composed of many monosaccharide units linked by glycosidic bonds. This glycosidic bond can be any of the hydroxyl group at carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4 or carbon 6th position. It can be either alpha or beta configuration. The linkage can be either alpha 1,4, beta 1,4, beta 1,2 like that, so and so. Then the properties of polysaccharides are their highly molecular weight substances compared to the oligosaccharides. Then it is sparingly soluble in water and colloidal solution in hot water. Best example is our starch, isn't it? ചോറ് വേവിക്കുമ്പോൾ കഞ്ഞിവെള്ളം, that colloidal nature which shows the presence of these polysaccharides. Then not sweet in taste. These four are the properties of polysaccharides. Then polysaccharides can be divided into two classes. It can be a homopolysaccharide. It consists of a single kind of monosaccharide units. A repeated units of glucose, a repeated units of fructose, etc. So example, cellulose, glycogen and starch. Or it can be heteropolysaccharide. It consists of two or more kinds of monosaccharide. It is the example for heteropolysaccharide is glycosaminoglycans. The chain can be either linear or branched. So here you can see that amylose, cellulose, inulin, chitin are unbranched polysaccharides. So this is a structure of unbranched polysaccharides. Then whereas glycogen, amylopectin, dextrins are branched polysaccharides which will be having alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds at its branching points. So this is a structure of branched homopolysaccharide, whereas heteropolysaccharide you can see that the monomer itself will be different, which is shown in different color, and multiple monomer types will be highly branched in case of this branched heteropolysaccharide. Now we will be focusing in detail about the homopolysaccharide in today's class. It is also known as homoglycans, polymers of single monomeric units. And the main role of homopolysaccharides are it serves as storage polysaccharides. The best example, starch and glycogen. Then structural polysaccharides. The best example, chitin and cellulose. Now homoglycans, various examples. The polymers of glucose are called as glucans. Glycogen, starch, dextrin and cellulose, all these are made up of repeated units of glucose molecule. That is why they are known as glucans. Then the polymers of fructose, which is known as fructans. The best example is inulin. Inulin is a polysaccharide made up of repeated units of fructans or fructose. Then polymers of mannose is known as mannans, which is present in ivory nut, and polymers of monosaccharide derivatives, example, chitin polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine. So these are the subclassification of homopolysaccharide or homoglycans. Let's go in detail about all these homopolysaccharides. First of all, storage homopolysaccharide. So first let's focus on starch. Starch is a homopolysaccharide of glucose molecule, repeated glucose molecule. We know that starch is a very much important storage polysaccharide in plants, and it is a chief source of energy in the plants. Dietary component and chief source of energy. And it is the most important dietary carbohydrate which is present in cereals, potatoes, legumes and other vegetables. And starch consists of glucose polymers like amylose and amylopectin. So 15 to 20% is made with amylose and 80 to 85% is made with insoluble amylopectin. So the amylose part is soluble and amylopectin part is insoluble. Average amylose chain length will be 100 to 1000 residues in a starch molecule, and it has alpha 1,4 linkages, and it has one reducing end at its structure, so that it is a reducing agent. It can reduce other substances. Amylose is poorly soluble in water but forms micellar suspensions. In these suspensions, amylose is helically coiled. And the starch which consists of amylopectin, that is, it forms branches at every 25 residues, between 25 to 30 residues. It forms a linkage with alpha 1,6 linkage. That means the first carbon atom of one glucose molecule which linked with the sixth carbon atom of another glucose molecule at the alpha position. That is why the linkage is alpha 1,6 linkage. Remember, linear chain will be linked with alpha 1,4 linkage and the branch point will be linked with alpha 1,6 linkage. So this is a picture which representing the amylose and amylopectin. You can see amylopectin is branched thing and amylose is a linear chain molecule. And the importance of starch. We know that the starch can be identified by a specific test, that is iodine test. If you are treating the starch solution with iodine and if you are heating it, it will give a deep blue color because of the presence of amylose which will react with the iodine. And reddish violet or purple color, that is amylopectin, which react with the iodine and which gives a reddish violet color. Amylases are the enzymes which hydrolyzes alpha 1,4 linkages present in the starch. So this alpha amylases includes, we know that the carbohydrate digestive enzymes which are present in saliva and pancreas, etc. That is salivary amylase, which is also known as ptyalin, and pancreatic amylase, which is also known as amylopsin. These causes the hydrolysis of starch into maltose, maltotrioses and limit dextrin. So this is again a pictorial representation. Digestive enzyme starch amylose is hydrolyzed by amylase enzyme and which causes the breaking down of alpha 1,4 bonds and causing the removal of glucose molecules as 2 or 3 subunits. That is known as maltose and maltotrioses are the major products. And another enzyme, glucosidase enzyme, which causes the hydrolysis of this maltose and maltotrioses and releasing the individual glucose unit. And it will not be digesting cellulose enzyme. Cellulose. Then another enzyme, debranching enzyme, which causes removal of the branching points at the alpha 1,6 branching points and causes the removal of the branched points from the branching points, and it leads to the product as limit dextrin. So this is all about starch. Then another important point we have to remember in this portion are regarding the starch. depends on the amylose and amylopectin, this which determines the glycemic index. Okay, starch with a lower amylose content will have higher glycemic index. Inversely, starch with a higher amylose content will have lower glycemic index. So now we will be thinking, what is this glycemic index? So you should keep it in mind that the foods that have lower glycemic index are considered to be more beneficial since it causes less fluctuation in insulin secretion. So the glycemic index of a starchy food is a measure of its digestibility based on the extent to which it raises the blood concentration of glucose compared with an equivalent amount of glucose. That is the definition of glycemic index. We will be taking this topic along with the nutrition later. So let me focus on glycogen now. It is another homopolysaccharide. It is a branched homopolysaccharide composed of alpha D glucose, and remember that it is an animal starch polysaccharide. That means the storage form of glucose in animals are glycogen. This glycogen can be stored in two important organs in human body, that is in liver and in muscle. So glycogen constitutes up to 5 to 6% of liver mass and 1% of muscle mass. But if you are considering the weight as such, the muscle glycogen will be more than that of liver. But the thing is that muscle mass is more than that of liver mass. But compared to the overall weight of liver, 5 to 6% of liver itself is contributed with the glycogen. Only difference from starch is that the number of branches. Herein glycogen is highly branched than the starch. Alpha 1,6 branches at every 8 to 20, 8 to 12 residues, whereas in starch we have seen that the branches were between 25 to 30 residues of monosaccharide units. So it is more branched than the amylopectin. So here gives the picture of glycogen and amylopectin. You can appreciate the figure. Glycogen is more branched than the amylopectin. The biomedical significance of glycogen. Glycogen is synthesized during glycogenesis in liver and muscle. It is a fuel reserve. A constant supply of glucose is through this liver and muscle glycogen. It utilized by whole body between meals and during early stage of starvation. During glycogenolysis, glycogen will be hydrolyzed into individual glucose units, and that glucose unit enters blood circulation and taken up by various tissues during this starvation and between meals. An adult human body consists of 325 gram glycogen, about which 75 gram in liver and 250 gram in muscle. Why? Muscle mass is more than that of liver. Compared to weight of the liver, muscle and isn't it? That is why out of 325 gram, 75 gram in liver, but that itself contributing 5 to 6% of liver weight. And another question, why glucose is stored in the form of glycogen? It can be stored in another form now, but there is a particular reason. Glucose ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ എന്തുകൊണ്ട് stored ആവുന്നില്ല അല്ലേ? The reason is that the stored glycogen is insoluble and contributes little to the osmolarity of the cytosol. Storage of glucose in a larger polymer like glycogen is not osmotically active. That is the main reason which prevents the osmolarity. Osmotically active substances and cause water accumulation, then swelling of cells and all. So glucose is highly osmotically active, so it cannot be stored as such. So it will be stored in the form of glycogen, which is insoluble and contributes little to the osmolarity of the cytosol. Next homoglycan is dextran. Dextrans are bacterial and yeast polysaccharide made up of alpha 1,6 linked poly D glucose. See the spelling dextrans. Here the branches can be it is not sticking to the alpha 1,6 linkage. It can be sometimes alpha 1,2 linkage, 1,3 linkage, 1,4 linkage, etc. And the importance of this dextran is this dextran formed by bacterial, specifically the bacteria Leuconostoc mesenteroids, a non-pathogenic gram-positive cocci and that is the component of dental plaque. And artificially synthesized dextran, which is known as Cephadex, used in column chromatography for the separation of the biomolecules. And another clinical significance of this dextran is that because of the low molecular weight, it is used as plasma volume expander or plasma substitute to increase the blood volume in cases of blood loss during injury, accident, etc. So it's the plasma volume expander. Next is cellulose. Cellulose is the chief constituent of cell wall of plants. It is an unbranched polymer of glucose and consists of long straight chain which are linked by beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage. Note down, the cellulose linkage is beta-1,4 rather than alpha-1,4 or alpha-1,6, which we have seen in case of this starch and glycogen. The cellulose linkage is beta-1,4 linkage. Cellulose is the component which gives the tensile strength to the plants. So there is a structural difference between amylose and cellulose. Alpha-1,4 linkage in case of amylose, which is present in starch and glycogen, whereas cellulose consists of beta-1,4 linkage. Next homopolysaccharide is chitin, another structural polysaccharide. It is present in exoskeleton of crustaceans, insects, spiders, and cell walls of fungi, etc. It is also similar to cellulose, but here the monomer is N-acetyl glucosamine. N-acetyl glucosamine. This is N-acetyl glucosamine. You can see the acetyl group which is attached to the N-acetyl glucose. Polysaccharide of beta-1,4 linked with the N-acetyl glucosamine units. The monomer unit is N-acetyl glucosamine. Said it is present in the cell wall of the crustaceans, exoskeleton of chitin. And other homopolysaccharides are pectins. Pectins is actually homogalacturonans. That means galacturonic acid repeated units linked together, that is known as homogalacturonans, are linear chains of D-galacturonic acid which is linked by alpha-1,4 linkage present in primary cell walls. Another homopolysaccharide is inulin. Inulin is a polymer of fructose. Polymer composed mainly of fructose units by beta linkage and typically have a terminal glucose. Inulin belongs to a class of dietary fiber known as fructans. And the importance of inulin is that inulin and its analog sinisterine are used to measure the kidney function by determining the GFR, that is glomerular filtration rate. Because inulin neither secreted or reabsorbed from the kidney tubules. So if you are injecting the inulin, it will be completely excreted through the urine. So thereby we can measure the glomerular filtration rate. And it is a commercial source of production of fructose. An enzyme inulinase hydrolyzes inulin. Inulinase is absent in human. That is why there is no dietary importance for the inulin. Next important part is the dietary fiber. What is meaning of dietary fiber? These are food components, does not have any nutritive value. It cannot be broken down by the human digestive enzymes. Found in food derived from plants, specifically cellulose, hemicellulose, pectins, gums, mucilages, etc. And also non-polysaccharide substances like lignin, cutin, tannin, etc. are the source of dietary fibers. Fibers are not a source of energy because human digestive enzymes cannot break down the fibers. The bacteria in human GI tract can break down some fibers but not complete amount. As such, human does not have a specific enzyme to hydrolyze the digestive fiber. Now the classification of fibers based on their solubilities in water. Soluble fibers. There are two types, soluble fibers and insoluble fibers. Soluble fibers, it decreases the rate of gastric emptying, decreases rate of sugar uptake, decreases serum cholesterol. Examples are gum, pectin, some hemicellulose found in fruits, oats, barley, legumes, etc. So remember, the major function of soluble fibers are which decreases the rate of gastric emptying, decreases the sugar uptake, and decreases serum cholesterol. Insoluble fibers, which include cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, which is found in wheat bran, corn bran, and whole grain bread, cereals, vegetables, carrot, cabbage, etc. Here, the action of insoluble fibers, it accelerates gastrointestinal transit and increases fecal weight. That means it promotes the bowel movement and slows starch hydrolysis and delays glucose absorption. So it will be highly beneficial for the diabetic patients, these insoluble fibers, because it helps to slows the starch hydrolysis and delays the glucose absorption. Thereby we can control the blood glucose level. So this is all about today's class. So all of you please read thoroughly homopolysaccharide. What is the definition of homopolysaccharide? What are the classification? What is the component of each homopolysaccharide? What are the functions of each homopolysaccharide? Thank you all. We'll be continuing with the heteropolysaccharides in tomorrow's class. Thank you.